Why study languages at university if you don't want to become a French teacher in the future? Why study languages at Cambridge if you can just download Duolingo? Why study languages at university if you only study one language at A-level or you don't even study any at all? My name is Andrew and I'm a second-year undergraduate student at the University of Cambridge, reading modern and medieval languages. Today, I'm going to explain to you why I chose Cambridge and why I chose to study French and Spanish. So let's talk about what you will actually be studying if you decide to study MML at the University of Cambridge. The course is split up into two main sections. So the first section is culture. Under this comes philosophy, history, literature, film, and linguistics. On the other hand, we have language. So this is mainly translation, speaking, and using the foreign language. This language work is varied, and you will work on many different dimensions of language acquisition. You will improve your skills in reading, listening, writing, and speaking, and you will also learn the skills of translation. Translation work is mainly done through particular exercises on the translation of texts to and from the language. This is the first thing that I love about studying at Cambridge, the breadth of the course. So for the language aspect of the course, there is so much choice. You can choose 2 languages or 1 language out of the following. I've got them written down so I don't forget. French, Spanish, German, Italian, Portuguese, Russian, Classical Latin, Classical Greek, Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, Hebrew, Persian, Catalan, Modern Greek, Polish, and Ukrainian. So the choice of which languages you study is completely up to you. I studied both French and Spanish at A-level, and I carried them on through until university. However, I was in a very lucky situation where my sixth form offered both of French and Spanish and allowed me to study them both at A-level. However, a lot of people don't have this possibility or didn't choose to study 2 language A-levels, and the university recognises this. So, whereas I studied post A-level languages, you can also start a new language from scratch when you arrive at Cambridge. Equally, if you don't want to study a new European language, you could perhaps study French and Arabic. This is a crossover between the AIMS and MML faculty. There exists a myriad of joint degrees at Cambridge. So you could study HML, which is History in a Modern Language, or Classics with MML. So this would be studying perhaps Classical Latin with Spanish. If you are studying MML, you will study 2 of French, Spanish, German, Italian, Portuguese, Russian. However, if you're studying AIMS, you would just study 1 Asian language. I don't want to get bogged down in all the specific details of the degrees here, but I encourage you to do some research and check out on the Cambridge University website the specificities of the application. It gives you the opportunity to learn a new skill from scratch at a university level, so you can come not speaking a word of Italian and start it in your first year. Long story short, there are a lot of combinations possible. As I previously mentioned, although I did both my languages at A-level, this is quite rare, so you absolutely don't have to study 2 language A-levels in order to study languages at Cambridge. This is one thing I love about being a languages student. There's no prototype of what we're like. People come from all sorts of different academic backgrounds. So I did French, Spanish, maths at A-level. There's people in my classes that studied maths, further maths, physics, and French. There might be someone who studied English, philosophy, and French. And I really appreciate this diversity in the classroom because it means we all come from different viewpoints and have different ideas to share. Teaching is very varied, especially for MML. So we have classes. This might be like a translation class or a grammar class. We also might have lectures. We know what lectures are. Seminars, so this is more like a small group discussion, and supervision, which is 2-on-1 teaching or 1-on-1 teaching. Obviously, spending this time with native speakers is incredibly rewarding, but beyond that, the literature aspect of the course also has on hold for you some very interesting supervisions. I find it fascinating to sit with a world expert in my field of interest, so let's say French poetry, and discuss my ideas about a certain poem with them. It is so enlightening. The variety of classes that are on offer at Cambridge really help you to carry on growing academically in all areas. So if we think about an average day in the life, it might be At 10 a.m., you have a French literature lecture. At 11 a.m., you have a translation class from English into Spanish. And then after lunch, you have a supervision speaking in French. I don't have time to get into the entire Cambridge experience here in this video, but if you are interested in seeing what life at Cambridge University is really like, then I encourage you to check out my vlog channel. This is at Andrew Collett Cambridge, Collett. And I make vlogs in which I show my life at Cambridge. Back to the point. I love being a language student at Cambridge, not only due to the methods of teaching, but also because of the selection of papers. In the first year, it will be a bit more general. It will be Introduction to French Literature and Culture as one paper, then it will be a grammar paper, and you don't really specialize much to start off with. That being said, as you progress throughout the years, you can specialize more and more into whatever really interests you. This is something I absolutely love because it means that whatever your specific nerdy passion is within your subject, there will be a teacher that can teach you about it. There is going to be a supervisor who's going to supervise you on it. There will be reading that you'll be recommended from the faculty. Beyond nerding out on whatever really fascinates you about your subject, another thing that I think is great about the Cambridge degree is that you can borrow papers from other faculties. They have to be approved, but you can borrow papers, for example, from linguistics as a part of the MML degree. Also, in the second and fourth year, you can pick up new languages. So I am studying Catalan this year, and hopefully in my last year, I will study Portuguese, if not Greek. This means that I'll graduate with proficiency in French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Catalan. And I briefly mentioned earlier on the ways of assessment, which also drew me to the Cambridge degree. So it's not just exams. You're actually offered different ways of getting examined on your work. So one thing I'm very excited about this year is that for my papers FRMD and SPMD, include what that stands for here, I will be examined via video essay. This means that I'll create a video project for both of these papers at the end of the year. Equally, as a second year student, I've taken the long essay option for my paper FR6. This means that I'll be writing a short dissertation instead of doing the exam. Being able to do video projects and coursework was a massive pull to the Cambridge MML course for me. Another advantage of studying languages is the opportunity to spend a year abroad. You can either do a volunteering placement, a work placement, or a study placement. All of these experiences will better prepare you for the workplace as soon as you graduate. It also gives you the opportunity to perfect your speaking skills with native speakers. The University of Cambridge has exchange programs with universities and institutions from all across the world. The university offers financial support for travel, obviously for academic purposes, and I personally am very grateful for some of the experiences that I've had completely thanks to this funding. So for example, in my first year holidays, I went to stay with a Spanish family for 2 weeks. I'm also a very grateful recipient of the Cambridge bursary. This is a non-repayable grant of up to £3,500 for all full-time undergraduate students. This bursary helps to meet the costs of life as a student in Cambridge, and it means that I can completely devote myself to my studies instead of having to do a part-time job alongside my studies to be able to afford everything. Another reason that I study languages at Cambridge is because it opens doors. Graduates from MML go into consultancy, law, others work for UNICEF, BBC, or United Nations, but to name a few. Even if you want to go into a career that is not directly to do with languages, these transferable skills will always come in handy. Before coming to Cambridge, you don't have to know what you're going to do with your degree after you graduate. However, no matter what you do, your employers will look favourably upon all the transferable skills that you will have gained from your MML degree at Cambridge. So, if I've successfully persuaded you to start thinking about the possibility of studying MML at Cambridge, then here's my advice for you. My number one top tip is do not worry and think, oh my goodness, I don't know what to write in my personal statement, or I don't know how I'm going to persuade the admissions team that I really want to study MML because I've never lived abroad before. The admissions team is really not expecting this. This is an experience lived by very, 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 very few applicants. So find a different way of showing how you're passionate about these languages and their cultures. The admissions team knows that you're only 16 or 17 years old as you're writing your application. This means they're not expecting you to have done loads of crazy international experiences for your personal statement. They just want to see that you're passionate about your subject and want to know a bit more about where this passion comes from. If you want to study a language at university that you're already studying at GCSE and A-level, then I would encourage you to start reading a bit more around your subject. What really interests you about Spanish or French or German, etc.? For me, for example, as I read more, I realized I really enjoyed magical realism in Spanish literature. I also really enjoyed studying how the queer experience was portrayed in Francophone and Spanish-speaking cinema. In your application, don't write that you're interested by something very complicated because you think it sounds fancy. Don't say, I absolutely love medieval Spanish literature if you don't. Just be honest, because they want to see what you actually really enjoy. If you want to study a language at university that you've not started studying yet, or you've not studied at school, then I recommend for you to start thinking about the culture of this country, to start looking into the literature, to maybe start teaching yourself a bit of the language, to find out what motivates you to learn the language. That is all for today. I really hope you enjoy this video and will consider studying a language degree and realize that actually you don't have to be a modern foreign language teacher just because you want to study languages. It will open so many doors for you, as it has for me. The diversity of the course and the amount of modules offered means that you will find something that you absolutely love.